He wasn't on the guest list. The trust fund was. Then the lawyer arrived. They printed my face and stapled it to a clipboard like I was a problem to be managed. Heat shimmered above the crushed limestone driveway at Stone Mesa Vineyard outside Fredericksburg, Texas. Fiddle and cello carried out of the white tent, all tasteful burlap and baby's breath. Somewhere behind the hedges, a generator hummed, fighting the July sun. I'd parked 2 rows back under a live oak so I didn't scuff the aisle she'd chosen. My suit hers, really. She picked it, held the smell of cedar blocks and the dry snap of starched cotton. "Sir, name?" The security man asked without looking up. "Buzz cut, reflective lenses, earpiece. Private firm, not the venue's weekend help." "Thomas Reed," I said. "Father of the bride." His thumb paused. Not long, half a heartbeat. Then he lifted the board. My driver's license photo, blown up and outlined in red. Across it, "Do not admit." I had a lot of words I could have chosen. None of them found my mouth. "Who flagged this?" I asked, polite out of muscle memory. "Instructions from the bride's side," he said, voice neutral, like reciting weather. Elise used to sleep with her hand tangled in my shirt collar when thunderstorms rolled across San Antonio. She was 8 when she asked if staying hurt. I told her no, that staying is the way hurt learns your name and gets quieter. I didn't think of that then. I thought about the photo, the red box around it, and the line some adult had crossed with a pin I probably paid for. A gust lifted the smell of white gardenias, chilled Prosecco, sunscreen. I nodded once, turned, walked back past the tent. It took 3 steps for the quartet to sound like a radio down the hall in someone else's house. Home has its own weather. Mine is a 1950s single story in Alamo Heights that settles like a content animal when you shut the door. The entry smells faintly of Murphy oil soap. The ASA comes on with a soft woof, and the hallway pictures steal your breath before grief gets the chance. Kindergarten, paper crown, gap-tooth grin. Middle school, her arm in a sling, me grinning bigger than she is after 3 stitches. High school, sneakers under the prom dress, because I said never pay pain tax for other people's opinions. College, both of us in those ridiculous mortarboard caps, hers real, mine borrowed laughing like we'd scammed the universe. On the bookshelf, between her origami swans and the clay mug that lists to port, sits a little album she made at 16. For the man who stayed across the cover in metallic marker. That day, rain hammered the porch. The house smelled like pancakes and hot butter, and she'd given me the book with hands still sticky from syrup. "Thank you," she'd said then, for never leaving when it got expensive. I set the album down and slid the hallway panel aside. The safe clicked open on the first try because muscle memory is its own prayer. Inside, birth certificates, medical proxies. A letter from my father I still haven't found the courage to open, and a blue binder with gold letters. Reed Family Discretionary Irrevocable Trust, 2019. Not a piggy bank, a plan. We drafted it when Elise was in her 2nd year of grad school, nights when she cried more from fear than exhaustion, and asked me, half joking, half pleading, if she could rent a future from me until hers showed up. I told her yes. Then I told my lawyer to make yes responsible. The trust isn't the internet's idea of irrevocable. Set it and forget it. It's discretionary and irrevocable, which means the assets are fenced, and distributions happen when a trustee decides they meet the standard we wrote. Ours uses the HEMS language: health, education, maintenance, support. And one more. Premarital conditional distributions can be paused if there's willful injury to the settler. In English, if you punch the hand that built your ladder before you stand on your own rung, the trustee may temporarily suspend payouts while they review whether the intent of the trust is being abused. There's a spendthrift clause. There's a no contest clause. There's a section for B, with a margin note in my handwriting. If she chooses a new family, let them carry the bill until she's theirs under law. I'm not vengeful by nature. I teach spreadsheets to behave and cars to run past 200,000 miles. But words matter when you're too tired to find new ones. We wrote those words for moments you hope never arrive. My phone lit up. Valerie calling. I let it go. Then Elise, then unknown numbers, then Adam Whittaker, the groom. I let them go too. In the kitchen, I poured iced tea instead of whiskey. Tea tastes like decisions. Whiskey tastes like detours. Then I called Clara Nguyen, the attorney who built the fence with me. "Clara, it's Tom Reed. I saw the missed calls," she said. "What happened?" "Security held up my face at the gate," I said, underlined. "Do not admit." "The venue is paid through the trust. So were the fittings, the floral deposit, the planner's retainer, 3 months' rent on her condo. I don't want to scorch the earth. I also don't intend to water a field that someone else salted." She was quiet for a beat, in the way good lawyers weigh words. "I can issue a notice of temporary suspension of distributions pending trustee review," she said. "That's not a freeze. It's an administrative hold while the trustee assesses potential willful injury to the settler and misuse of the trust's purpose. It pauses outgoing payments and flags any in-flight vendor transactions for review. It's lawful and defensible." "Do it," I said. "Serve it at the venue." "Tom," she said, softer. "You okay?" "I'm present," I said. "That's enough for tonight. You should know the Whittakers are not the kind of family you surprise. They run real money the way ranchers run fence lines, daily, early, without applause. Graham Whittaker, the groom's father, built a logistics and medtech portfolio in Austin that doesn't suffer fools or press. His jawline says oil patch. His cufflinks say operating margin. We've spoken 3 times. Booster dinner, hospital fundraiser, one awkward coffee, where he asked how we survived the year Elise's biological father tried to wander back in. Graham's eyes are the color of wet slate and do the same job. I didn't see what he did at the vineyard until later, but I can tell you how it landed from the messages that stacked like playing cards while I watched the ceiling fan cut circles in my living room. Graham, voicemail. "Mr. Reed, you don't know me, not really. You should know that I noticed. The clipboard, your name missing, the empty chair with a white rose that isn't a memorial. I moved deals for less. I'm about to move this." He called his assistant. He ran a pull on public records. The air in the groom's lounge smelled like starch and aftershave and nerves when the PDF arrived. Tuition paid from a 529 I funded. Leases co-signed by me. Venue booked through my LLC. Designer deposits charged to the trust. On the guest list, no Thomas Reed. Graham stepped out of the lounge and found Valerie, my ex-wife, Elise's mother, at the portable bar, swirling Sauvignon Blanc like she could make it whirl away consequences. He asked where I was. She told him I was sensitive about big events. He asked about the security. She said, a planning miscommunication. He didn't raise his voice. He simply set the documents on a folding table behind the catering tent and asked the officiant to join them. This is the part where I tell you what it cost him. Whittaker Capital is 3 weeks from a vote on a hospital network acquisition. He's the public face. A wedding-turned-train wreck with his name within camera shot is a PR risk, a board headache, and a shareholder press release. He suspended the ceremony anyway. Quietly. Like a man who'd rather explain integrity than manage a lie. Clara texted me a photo from outside the tent. Her hand, white cotton gloves, holding an envelope with notice of temporary suspension printed across the top. The paper looked heavier than it was. She said the planner read it twice, then asked if this meant the caterer would be paid. If the services were contracted in good faith and not procured by misrepresentation, Clara said. Today, I'm the trustee's lawyer, not a villain. We'll audit. Fiddle stumbled. Someone dropped silverware. The crowd's hum thinned to a brittle edge. I could picture it. The way air shifts when truth enters a climate-controlled room. Valerie tried to spin, I'm told. Administrative snafu, she said to one aunt. He got stuck at work, she told the photographer. Streaming in, she assured the violinist hiring manager, who used to play with me at our church in Alamo Heights when she was 16. Graham stood at the tent entrance, not blocking, just watching. The security man kept his lenses forward. When the lawyer left, the gravity remained. It always does. At 8:52 p.m., my doorbell rang. Wind chimes I made out of copper pipe clinked softly, a sound more honest than any I'd heard all day. Through the glass I saw Elise on the porch, veil gone, hairpin constellations coming loose. Valerie hovered 2 steps back, arms crossed. Adam. The groom stood by the curb, hand on the roof of a rented black sedan, like he wasn't sure whether to lean or to run. Dad? Elise's voice cracked the way it did when she was 4 and discovered bad dreams have no corners to sweep. Please. I didn't know she signed that order. I never would have. Valerie made a small scoff that hit the door before it reached me. Thomas, you've made your point. Don't embarrass us. Adam spoke for the first time. Sir, he said, plain. I didn't know about that list. Mr. Whitaker showed me the documents. I'm here because he told me to listen more than I talk. I pressed my palm to the wood. It was warmer than I expected. The house smelled like lemon oil and coffee and the ghost of pancake sundaes. My phone buzzed. Graham again. Don't open it, he said when I answered. They're here to rewind, not to repent. I know, I said. On the hall table, next to the album and a jar of screws I never sorted, lay a single photo Elise drew at 5. 2 stick figures. One labeled me, the other Dad backward B for D. A heart between us, colored red and outside the lines. The frame is plastic, cheap, replaced once when the clip broke. I've never cleaned the crayon out of its corners. I walked back to the dining table where the tea sat with rings of condensation, like small moons. Paper clips in a neat pile. Blue binder open to 7B. Clara had emailed me a draft of a letter to sign. Trustee places a temporary suspension on discretionary distributions, pending review under HEMS and 7B. Vendors notified, no punitive action, only audit. It didn't sound like revenge. It sounded like stewardship. On the porch, Elise knocked again, softer. Just tell me what to do, she said. You don't get many chances in a life to teach the truth that stuck to you when you were young and broke and thought being necessary was the same as being loved. This was one of those. I didn't open the door. Graham's reputation didn't come through the week unbruised. The Austin Ledger ran a whispery piece about a suspended Whitaker wedding. A columnist called it patriarchal interference. A hospital board member sent him a text with a line of angry emojis. He took the call, took the criticism, and didn't return the ring. Deals break, he told me later. Integrity doesn't. Let them ask me why I stopped a wedding. I'll show them a clipboard. Valerie spun herself into exhaustion. The planner sent emails begging for instructions none of them could give. The quartet's invoice came with a late fee notice written by a man who just wants to get paid and go home. Elise delivered flowers to my porch on Wednesday. Peonies. The card said, "For the man who stayed." It should have landed as balm. It landed as a mirror. The thing about mirrors is they don't show you what you meant. They show you what is. Clara and I sat with invoices. We paid the vendors who were owed for services contracted in good faith. No need to starve the innocent to teach a lesson. We paused everything else. We set a date for a trustee review 2 weeks out. We asked Elise to submit a statement, in writing, about how the trust had been used in the last 6 months and whether she believed her actions met the trust's intent. She wrote back that Thursday in a voice that looked like hers and sounded like Valerie's. "This is punitive," it began. I replied with one sentence. "Administrative review is not punishment. It is what adults do with money that isn't theirs." People like tidy morals. I don't have one. I have a ledger. In one column, 22 years of lunches, late fees, prom shoes, braces, tuition, apartments, therapy, after-hours runs to Target for poster board and glue sticks, vet bills for a cat that only loved her, the patients you don't track until it's over. In the other, a laminated photo with a red rectangle and 2 words that show you exactly where you stand. Across the bottom, a line I never thought I'd need to write. The Reed Family Trust is not an ATM. It is a promise. Promises are conditional on truth. But I'll give you the human version too, because money isn't the only ledger. The Saturday after the wedding that didn't happen, I drove west on 290 until the hill country swallowed the city. I pulled over at a roadside stand where they sell peaches warm from the tree and bottled cream soda from a chest packed with ice. The air smelled like sun on cedar and road tar and something green I couldn't name. I bought 2 peaches and let one drip down my wrist while cicadas sang like a power line. A girl, maybe 8, ran past with a paper crown from some birthday party in the pavilion behind the stand. Her father held the string of a helium balloon and a grocery sack with chips, and he moved in that way fathers do when they are carrying everything you won't remember and everything you will. I went home and did something I should have done years ago. I created the Hands That Stayed, a small foundation seeded with the portion of Elise's discretionary allocation that wasn't spent. It grants Hem's assistance to men who do the dull, holy work of staying custody fights, night classes, emergency tires, dental work, a semester of community college, without making the court or the internet clap first. The trust instrument allows charitable redesignation of discretionary funds when the trustee, in good faith, determines distributions no longer serve the trust's stated purpose. That's legal speak for money should do what it promised. We kept Elise as a beneficiary. I'm not burning my child at the altar of being right. But we added terms, post-marital review, joint financial counseling, a letter from her acknowledging what happened and why it mattered. Graham called the next week. "We're moving forward with the hospital vote," he said. "If the board asks about the wedding, I'll say I suspended a lie and protected my son." "Did he thank you?" I asked. He laughed, a quiet exhale of a sound. He said, "I'm angry, and I think you saved me." That's a Whitaker yes. Elise came by a month later without flowers. She wore jeans and the sweater I bought her last winter because the office AC was carnivorous. No makeup. Hair in a tie. She stood on the porch, not the step. Progress hides in inches. "I signed the statement," she said, holding out a paper. "I read the trust. Really read it." Her voice wavered. "I didn't know about 7B. Mom. You're not going to outsource this apology to your mother," I said, gentler than it reads. She nodded. "I'm sorry, Dad. Not like PR sorry. I'm sorry in the way where I wake up at 3 a.m. and remember the look on the guard's face and hate that I did that to you." She swallowed. "Graham. Mr. Whitaker." He showed me invoices with my initials next to them. I thought they were planning approvals. I didn't look because I liked not looking. "Liking not looking is a luxury," I said. "Grown-ups don't always get to afford." She wiped at her eye with the heel of her hand, a gesture that can still make the floor tilt under me. "Can we sit?" she asked. We sat at the kitchen table that's hosted more math than most classrooms. I made coffee. She traced the ring left by my glass and looked at the album and didn't touch it. "Maintenance and support," she said suddenly. I thought support meant whatever I felt like needing. A small, cracked smile. "I see why you like tea. Coffee's too loud when your head already is." "Hems isn't feelings," I said. "It's food and roofs and medicine, and sometimes tuition, and sometimes a safety net, so you can run farther. It isn't confetti." We talked for 2 hours. She didn't argue. I didn't preach. We made a plan we both could live with, because that's all plans are good for. She'd finished the counseling requirement. She'd write a letter, not performative, not for me, for her, so she can read it at 40 and see who she chose to be. We would revisit distributions after the wedding she earns, not the one she performs. Before she left, she pointed at the plastic frame. "Can I?" she asked, then shook her head. "No. It lives there. It lives here," I said. "So do you, when you're honest." She hugged me like she used to when storms crawled across the city. Not hard, long enough to feel the thing we almost misplaced. On her way to the door, she paused. "Graham said to tell you he took a PR hit on purpose," she said. "He said you'd understand the cost. He also said to tell you your lawyer writes like a poet with a ledger." I smiled. "Clara does have a way with a comma." Elise laughed, soft. "I'll bring peaches next time," she said. "Bring your whole self," I said. "Peaches are optional. If you've stayed with me this long, you don't need me to underline the lesson. But I'll write it for the record, because records keep us from lying to ourselves. A discretionary, irrevocable trust with conditional distributions isn't a weapon. It's a boundary with a ledger and a conscience. A father isn't a donor plaque. A daughter isn't a debtor. A wedding isn't a stage for rewriting history because it photographs better. I didn't punish my child. I protected the promise I made to the man I used to be when I signed those papers. Tired, hopeful, counting down the days until she didn't need me, and quietly hoping she'd still want me. I traded a loud scene for a lawful pause. I traded revenge for review. I traded being right for being steady. I was never just the man who paid. I was the man who stayed.